All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We are looking at a truly fascinating text by Shufag about separating the spirit from the mortal body. Now, a lot of the time, we hear meditation described as this completely peaceful, static practice, right? But what's so incredible about the source material we're digging into today is that it outlines a highly structured, almost video game-like journey. It is an active, escalating quest that demands not just sitting still, but some absolute hardcore psychological endurance if you want to level up.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, preparing mind and body. Then, Level 1, skimming the water. Followed by Level 2, facing the illusions. And finally, Level 3, becoming immortal.
Section 1. Preparing mind and body.
You know, before you can face the cosmos, you really have to face the environment. The text lays out these highly specific, totally pragmatic steps for your setup. You need a secluded place, and I love this touch of practical reality, the text explicitly advises inviting a close friend to stand guard. Why? Well, because you need someone to physically protect you from scorpions, snakes, and just random people shouting while you're in this vulnerable state. So, once you're secured, you sit down casually, loosen your clothes, press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and slow your breath down into this thin, continuous rhythm, completely clearing out distracting thoughts. And that setup brilliantly anchors the central metaphor the source uses for these abstract concepts. Throughout this explainer, I want you to think of your mind as a basin of dirty water. At Level 1, you're just skimming the visible scum right off the surface. Then at Level 2, you're filtering out the microscopic, unseen impurities. And by Level 3, you're left with perfectly pure, unadulterated water. Keep that mental image in your back pocket as we go.
Moving on to Section 2, Level 1, skimming the water.
This is where it gets wild. If you thought meditation was about feeling absolutely nothing, Zhu Feng asserts the exact opposite in Level 1. We're talking total sensory overload. You're hit with 15 distinct physical sensations. Your body might literally feel like it's jumping, itching, sinking, or floating in a void. And simultaneously, 10 spiritual merits arrive from the outside, just flooding you with this profound sense of emptiness, unbridled happiness, liberation, and deep kindness. To give you a sense of just how powerful this first level is supposed to be, the source material makes a massive claim here. It describes this meditative state as an incomparable joy, literally, quote, 100 times more pleasurable than the feeling of your wedding night. It is depicted as an overwhelming ecstasy, like you've just discovered hidden treasure when you were destitute, or waking up from the deepest, most refreshing sleep of your life.
But hold on, because here is the trap. The text warns that this incredible feeling is actually a test. If you become infatuated with this aesthetic joy and just soak it in, you'll fail. You will get stuck and fall right back into the realm of everyday desire. So, to level up, you actually have to abandon this realm completely. The instructions are to reject this joy by actively not accepting it, literally berating it, and logically analyzing it away.
The author even pulls in a really dramatic biblical comparison to stress how severe this detachment needs to be. Just as Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt simply because she looked back at what she was leaving behind, the text insists that to move forward, you have to ruthlessly abandon your past achievements without a single glance back. No nostalgia whatsoever. You cannot hold on to that incredible joy.
Which brings us to Section 3, Level 2, Facing the Illusions.
So, by abandoning the joys of Level 1, your inner water is filtering, but the psychological trials, they become absolute chaos. The text explains that these are impurities in your spirituality acting up as demonic illusions. You are bombarded by internal projections. On one side, it's a horror movie, hungry tigers pouncing, poisonous snakes hissing, headless ghosts trying to grab you. On the other side, it's ultimate temptation, graceful fairies floating on clouds, heavenly pavilions, sensual beauties waving at you. And your only task? You must sit completely still. You can't show fear, and you absolutely cannot take the bait.
If you actually manage to survive those intense, contradictory illusions, your inner water finally becomes clear, allowing your true Buddha nature to shine. The text defines this as the pure spiritual essence that only manifests after you've escaped the low-level joys and impurities of the physical body. Arriving here brings this immense peace of mind. It is the realization that you've narrowly escaped a grand catastrophe, and the fairyland is finally near. But wait, the text notes this incredible biological hurdle that still remains. There's a stubborn, low-level joy vibrating deep within your very cells, your capillaries, your nerve endings. The author compares it to an animal whose heart has been removed, but its cells are still twitching. You have to use sheer willpower to reject and berate this cellular joy. It requires intense discipline, kind of like the legendary Tang monk from Chinese folklore, who had to completely ignore ultimate worldly wealth and amorous temptations just to reach the Western heaven.
And if you manage to conquer that deep cellular joy, you are hit with even grander mirages. These aren't just sensory temptations anymore. We are talking mirages of ultimate power, ego, and divine prestige. You might see yourself becoming a worshipped king surrounded by a harem, or flying up to the immortal Penglai fairy pavilion, or even getting invited to lavish banquets where the Jade Emperor himself warmly welcomes you to feast with the gods.
So the crucial point is understanding why these grand illusions happen. The author explains that even clear water holds unseen microscopic compounds, right? Well, in your mind, that ultimate microscopic impurity is the self. It's the ego, the very concept of you. As long as you are enjoying that banquet with the Jade Emperor, you are trapped in the cycle of life and death. To beat level 2, the text says you must literally run away from the Jade Emperor in your mind. Just escape. Flee until everything, including yourself, completely disappears.
And that leads us to Section 4, Level 3, Becoming Immortal.
Now, we are impartially reporting this extraordinary claim straight from the source text here. At this third level, the author asserts that you can go 8 to 10 days without even thinking about food. Because you have transcended your physical demands, your energy consumption drops so drastically that you become your own self-sustaining, closed-loop universe.
Taking that concept even further, the source makes a really surprising claim. It states that in this third level of meditation, your resilience is so absolute that you could survive for 2 to 3 months in the death altitude area of Mount Everest, literally the harshest environment on Earth, without it posing a threat to your life.
So how is this allegedly happening? Well, the text asserts that your internal organs, bones, blood, and nerves literally undergo chemical changes. You are described as transforming into sarira. These are sacred, pearl-like relics typically found in the ashes of Buddhist masters. The claim is that in severe cases of this meditation level, your entire living body becomes an adamantine, indestructible relic. Now, the text briefly teases that there are actually levels 4 and 5, which exist to grant literal supernatural powers, like the ability to transform, ascending to the 1,000-year world, and eventually becoming a Buddha in the Elysium world. However, the author purposely notes that these are beyond the scope of intermediate practice, so they leave them tantalizingly unexplained for this phase of the journey.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we really have to pause and ponder the incredibly demanding structure of Zhou Feng's texts. Think about it. You start by fighting off bugs and ghosts, you reject unimaginable ecstasy, and finally, you literally have to run away from your own identity. Which brings us to this profound paradox at the heart of the text. If achieving this indestructible, immoral state requires completely and entirely erasing your self, your ego, and your identity, who or what is actually left to experience the immortality? It is a truly fascinating philosophical puzzle. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the nature of your own reality.